Hello, everyone, and welcome to Get More Clients. I'm your host, Lynn Whitbeck. Business owners and entrepreneurs hire me to ignite winning sales because most are chasing down clients, stuck in a chaotic sales cycle, and lacking client retention, conversions, and profits. The mission of this show is to educate, inspire, and motivate women around the world to build a robust sales strategy to get more clients, because most can't get more clients and haven't a clue why. You will learn to transform thinking to the client's perspective, end sales chaos with a robust strategic plan, and to harvest the hidden profits. You will also have the opportunity to connect with me further to see how I can support you beyond today. So I want to welcome everyone here to the show. I'm so glad to see you. So let's get going. I want to talk to you of today. Let's sort of recap. Last week, we revealed why your worthy intent builds strong relationships. Today, we will explore how your prospects progress from spark to connect to rapport. You all work with smart people who are qualified and capable of making good decisions for themselves or their organizations. Creating relationships that recognize these attributes reflects your worthy intent. By the end of today's show, you will know how to evaluate if your new contact is a qualified lead or if they are a resource you can support and or a potential referral partner. Ask discovery questions to learn more about their goals, objectives, and initiatives as you cultivate your relationship. Position questions that help you set the stage to close the sale. Throughout the sales journey, you must diligently continue to learn everything you can about individuals and the company or their business. In the process, you're able to dig deeper to identify and uncover possibilities for products and services that the client has not visualized. It goes far beyond the specifications and requirements at the surface or of a challenge or objective. It's finding that perfect fit. So we're going to dive into this today, and I want to make sure that I want you to have a pen and pencil ready because man, oh man, do I've got a lot of great content to share with you. So let's get into this. So the first thing I want to talk about after you have that initial spark. So they've found you in some way, they've connected, they've reached out to you on LinkedIn, they've signed up on your website, on your lead magnet, you've met with them on a networking call. However, that initial spark occurred after making that new connection and demonstrating your worthy intent, which is, again, your genuine curiosity about them and what's going on in their world, about their business. Then the next step is to evaluate if your new contact is a qualified lead or if they are a resource. So we just touched base on that. So here's some questions that you need to do first, and it's about being introspective. I want you to tap into your internal questions here that you're going to ask yourself and you're going to walk through. And your evaluation places the new connection into one of these three categories. They're either a qualified lead, they are a future prospect, or they're going to be a resource, partner, or promoter, right? Now, how do they match your ideal client avatar? That's the first question. How do they match your ideal client avatar? Do they answer the client why? How do you benefit them? What's the ideal use case? So whatever your product or service is, will they use your product or service in ways that maximizes value for them? Okay. The third question is, what would automatically make them a bad fit for either you or your organization? Now, I really need you to think about this because this is an act of selfless and selfish qualification. Because if they're not a good fit, It's not, and if they're a bad fit, it's not good for either of you. You're just going to get frustrated and it's going to go down a dark, dank tunnel. All right. So now that you've answered those questions, here's some additional questions. And as you are processing this, you're going to notice a whole bunch of this came from previous episodes. They're always there, so you can go back and re-listen to them. So what's the next question? Do they align with your identified market segments? So when you're looking at that for every business, what industry are they in? You know, what's the size of their organization, especially if you're selling to SMBs, small businesses, or if you have specific, your product or service really needs that specific size of an organization. What's their revenue, headcount, locations, their number of customers, anything that's one of your heck yeses that you need to know about, or that's important for your market segment and your industries. What's the relevant department? This really gets into when you're working B2B. Are they in risk management? Are they in HR? Are they in IT? Is that a fit for you? And what's the size of that department? Is it one person? Like there's one person in sales, or is there a team? Is the contact the decision maker? Now, this isn't a deal breaker, okay? Because they may or may not be the decision maker. It's always great if you're checking directly to the decision maker, but they can be a champion and a strong influencer to make the introduction to the decision maker. And often there are gatekeepers to get to that decision maker. So these people are those that you work with to get into that next level so that you can talk to that very important person who makes the decision. So for some of you, it could still be that physical location is a factor. Yes, even though we live so much in the virtual world now, after going through the pandemic, that's never going to go away. However, there is many businesses where you're still really looking at a regional and a localized situation of how you help and serve your clients. So if that's a factor, make sure they tick that box. And are there any other specific market segment fit factors? All right, say that fast 5 times. Other specific market segment fit factors to confirm. So all of these go into making sure that you are able to classify this new contact, and you're going to move that prospect into that qualified lead cultivation outreach process. If they are not that qualified lead, or if they're a lead, a prospect for the future, they're going to become, and they're going to go into another channel of how you communicate with them, because you want to spend your time and energy on the people who could become clients and or who would become partners and or promoters. And of course, you're not going to ignore the people who are potential prospects or resources for some future introduction or opportunity. You just put them into different channels. And we'll be talking a lot about that in the coming episodes when we dive into outreach. So I hope you've got all that. All right. I'm going to take a moment here so that you can, you've got everything written down. All right. Now, are you ready to get the next step? And that's when you've moved that, you're starting to move that relationship into cultivation. You've created the spark. You've evaluated what their situation. You've looked at, can they answer heck yes to your 5 yeses that you need to have for to move forward as a qualified lead. And now you're going to work on cultivating this new relationship. And as you meet with them, you're going to ask discovery questions to learn more about their goals, objectives, and initiatives. And you want to keep that client why in sharp focus. And with B2B sales, we touched base on this earlier, that there are 3 levels of client need. There's company, department, and individual. And that's where those buyer motivations also kick in. They tend to purchase from a more limited range of buyer motivations, whereas B2C, or you're working directly with an individual, Perhaps you're selling coaching services or some other type of services that support solopreneurs or very small SMBs. Well, in that case, you're going to still be looking at, they have different sets of needs, right? And when you're in the B2B world to sell to these people, you really need to, and also regardless if they're B2B or B2C, they are still people and we sell to people. Oh yeah, we sell to people. They're human beings and their individual need or why is the most important factor. Okay, I want to repeat that because some people miss this in that B2B world. We sell to people. Therefore, their individual need or their why is the most important factor for you to be able to guide them to the sale, to move them forward. And of course it is for very small SMBs, entrepreneurs, and solopreneurs. So I compiled a whole bunch of questions, and we're going to go over some of them. I'm going to sort of do the hit parade of the best questions. Then they are only a guide, and you're going to need to make adjustments to fit your personality, your organization, your business, how you help the world, your product or service, how you are creating impact, and you're always, always, always going to adapt it to the prospect situation. All right, so let's sort of go through these, and they're not in any particular order. And you will need to compile this list for yourself as the questions that you need to ask your potential qualified lead. So actually you've already established they're a qualified lead. I'm so sorry, but maybe you haven't quite established that and they are still a qualified prospect and you're wondering, are they really a qualified lead? Okay, so how did you hear about us? Now you may think, okay, well, why? But you can use this when appropriate because it's an excellent question to sort of break the ice. And it's a really easy way to get the conversation rolling. And you can learn why they're interested in your product or service from this question. Did they stumble upon you? Once again, if you happen to know the answer to this, how they found out, don't ask the question, but it can be illuminating for your own business research, how they found out about you. The next one I would normally ask are, what are the top challenges yourself, your team, or your company is currently facing? Now, there's lots of variations on that. You know, what are the top challenges you are currently facing? So those are for those entrepreneurs, the solopreneurs, and those really micro, small SMBs. Now, here's another one. What specific goals, plans, and objectives are you wanting to see the biggest improvement between now and the end of the quarter? All right, this is a golden question because this allows you to see into their world and to understand if your product or service is a front burner item. If what you provide and how you serve and create impact, if this is a really good fit for what they need right now. Timing is everything in life and in work, and knowing this is very critical, and it prompts a whole avenue of additional questions that you can go down. So because this one is such a great question, I'm going to repeat it. What specific goals, plans, and objectives are you wanting to see the biggest improvement between now and the end of the quarter? Now, I want to say, if the quarter ends at the 2 weeks, please just say the next quarter. You add that word next quarter. All right, so makes sense, right? All right, so there's a lot of, once again, variations on that. What are the results you want to achieve? These are like follow-up questions to that first question. How do you want to achieve them? How do you envision achieving your objective? This is really important. What's their vision? What are they looking? What's that golden space in the sky that they're shooting for? You know, when would you like to achieve these results? Very important. You know, if they tell you they want these results in 2 weeks, and I can tell you from experience that some people really, they just want it. They want it and they want it now. And yeah, it takes you 2 weeks just to get ramped up to start working with them, right? Most people can't achieve those results in 2 weeks, not unless it's there. Of course, there are situations where you could, maybe you're, let's not even go there. We all know that there's other situations. All right. Um, how would achieving these results benefit you, your team, and your company? And once again, you're going to modify that based on whether you're working with an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, super small micro business, or an SMB, or a larger business and corporation. These are all really great questions. And then if you notice, have you noticed they're all open-ended questions? None of them have a yes or no answer. And here's another trick. When they answer the question, maybe it's they answer very quickly or shortly, then you can say, tell me more. Or why does that matter? Or help me understand. Those are great ways to get more information from them, especially when you hear something that your ears perk up and you go, aha, they do need my product or service. They are looking for the type of impact that I can create, my business can create for them. All right. So those are all ways to then get more information from them, because often that second and third part of the information is going to be incredibly valuable. And here's the wonderful thing. If you let them talk 80% of the time and dive in and pull this information out, they're going to tell you everything you need to know. That's right. So make sure you focus on asking a question and then drawing them out so that you can learn what you need to know. And they can also open up like an onion, peeling off those layers so that you can learn what you need to know to make sure that it is a win-win and you can create the impact that they need. So there's a whole bunch of additional questions. So we're going to power through a few of these that I'm going to hit on. What would be the consequences if you did not solve these issues? Now, this really taps into that pain point. If this is a critical pain point, what are the consequences? This is another question. Are you working on an element of a larger initiative or goal? So this is one of those things to find out if they've got something else that they're already working on that's a focal point that is a front burner issue. And all of those really tie into what's going on in their world right now. And here's another question that also gets you a lot of information. What motivated you to search for a solution now? A modification is, what are your motivations to pursue a solution now? So as you're going through this, there are so many ways that you can talk about these questions. And there are things that you can now get into as you've had this conversation about benefits, features, their specific needs and wants. So let's power through these. What features are requirements versus nice to haves? So this is definitely when you're selling in that B2B world and you might be implementing a program. Why do you need these particular features? All right. So that's really important to understand what's going on in their environment and how they would be working with you. What role do you play in the decision-making process? Wow, this is a kicker. And you've got to be able to have the moxie to ask this question. All right. Especially when you're in that B2B world, you need to know if they are the ultimate decision maker, if they're going to be taking this and presenting it to the VP of that department, if you're going to have to incorporate multiple departments into that decision-making process. This is illuminating, and it's very important to know. Now, when you're talking to a solo entrepreneur or an entrepreneur, that's not necessarily a good question, right? And instead, you can modify it by perhaps asking, who are the people who will have an impact on making the decision or the final decision, or who will have a say in making the final decision? So that lets you know what other decision makers are involved. So it could be a partner, it could be their significant other, It could be a close friend or a business coach that they want to consult before they move forward. Those are good questions to ask. And of course, there you can go into all these things about decisions, and asking these decision questions is really important. And I don't know if you're loving this, but if you are, there's just so many questions that we can dive into. And then you can start asking them about their budget, how much they spent on similar solutions, and how much they have budgeted now. These are, once again, great questions that you can draw out to understand where they're coming from right now. I mean, and is this, literally, is this in the budget? And there are a lot of questions around this for budget that you can ask. And what another great thing is to dive in if they've used or tried this type of product or service before. What has worked and what has not worked with your current provider? And so, or a past provider. And what were the deciding factors that help you choose that supplier? And how does our solution compare to what you have now? So this is something if you're looking to displace an existing supplier, this is a great question. And then you can also say, how does our solution compare to the competitors? In a B2B world, they often are going to be doing their due diligence, and they're going to look at competitors. When you're working with solopreneurs and entrepreneurs, they may or may not actually look at competitors. Often, depending on where they're coming from, they may go with someone who they've met with and they're connecting with, and you've built that rapport, and they may not look at competitors. So it depends on the situation and how you want to address this. Another good question is, are you considering a DIY approach? We live in a world of YouTube. You can watch a YouTube video on how to do these things. And for many people, they'll decide to go down this rabbit hole, which they invest tens of hundreds to thousands of hours to figure something out that you've already cracked the code on. And so really understanding how DIY they are is going to help you understand how much of your time to invest in them putting that investment in, because you've cracked the code, you've got the shortcuts, and you're going to get them from point A to point B much quicker and much more effectively without the painful mistakes along the way. So all of these questions serve you with a strong and accurate understanding of your client's processes, situation, and perspective. So I want you to think about all these questions, and you need to come up with questions that fit your business model, your product or service, and what you need to discover. It's really important as you're working through these questions, they need to be open-ended. You need to have that opportunity to say, tell me more. And you must place them in an order that's logical and makes sense, that you can also root out hidden objectives. So everyone has objections, I should say, objectives and objections. They're both very important. And also potential choke points. So there are some times where everything has to go through a single person. They're already overwhelmed. The odds of your being able to, it becomes this situation that you can't actually move forward effectively because they're holding on so tight to the reins that they haven't delegated. So those are all critical things, or a choke point of something that's going on in their business right now, a big initiative that's going to impact when they can move forward with yours. All those are valuable and you need to know. So now let's talk about really moving forward through that decision-making rapport. And there is a lot more that goes on in closing. And I'm going to get into that in the upcoming episodes. So we're really this is frosting on the cake, I should say. And I've got some questions that you can use at this stage of your sales process that will help you do exactly what you need to. And that's to move them forward and guide them to that decision. And the key component of these questions is to validate, once again, is this a match? Are they a good fit? Are they empowered? And will they reward you with referrals and recommendations as you move forward? And there are a number of ways that you can ask this. So what are the steps you need to take to help make this happen? All right. What are the steps you need to take? Are there any obstacles that could prevent us from moving forward? All right. You need to be proactive. You are in charge. You're guiding this conversation. You're guiding the decision. This is also what's it going to be like to work with you? All right. Based on our discussions, do you feel our solution is a good fit for your needs? Now, this can be a yes or no, but what you do is you add why on the end. Why? All right. And that is tell me more, help me understand so that you can get that from a yes or no to a long form answer. I love to use not only assumptive close questions, but also to use either or options because they're easy. So would next Tuesday at the same time work with your schedule for our next meeting? So that's one of those assumptive closes with an either or option. And that allows you to move the conversation to the next stage, which is closing. Woohoo! So I hope you were able to capture a bunch of those questions. And these are so important as you're building that relationship and as you're building that conversation. These demonstrate that you are genuinely interested in them, in their organization, in their business, what's going on in their world, and that you're doing the due diligence to make sure that you can serve them and create impact for your business. It really does demonstrate what it's going to be like to work with you. You need to take charge and be asking these questions, not only for yourself to get the information, but for them, because then they know they're through this process, they're building that like, know, and trust with you because you're asking the right questions. You give a darn about their business and how you can help and serve them. And so I want to say thank you so much for tuning in today. And my purpose is for you to get more clients. And on behalf of the Win-Win Women Network, I have carved out a limited number of time slots to invite you to hop on and ignite your sales call with me to see what's working, not working, and what you would love to have working. And I'm going to see how I might further support you in effectively generating more leads, converting more sales, and fulfilling on your promise as a brand and organization. And the fastest way to success is to assure people know that they matter. And the best way to make this happen is to build a consistent sales strategy to acquire, convert, and capitalize on every lead. You will find growing your business is easy and lucrative. So you can do that by going to P2Q link, and that's P2Q link. Let me get that for you, /win-win, p2q.link/win-win. You'd think I'd have that memorized by now. So today we looked at how your prospects progress from spark to content to connect to rapport. And the key is for you to implement these steps to stop wasting time, energy, and resources. And once again, you have that opportunity to jump in and get the support you need for true success. Say yes to you and get on a call with me. I am truly gifted at this, and you deserve the shortcut to your success with the right support. And this time I'm going to get it right. It's p2q.link/win-win. It's in the show notes. And you can also connect with me on our website. And to stay current for all of our insightful advice, our breakthrough advantages, and never miss an episode of Get More Clients, you can sign up for our weekly Wisdoms newsletter at petitetoqueen.com. And next week on Get More Clients, we're going to keep diving into relationships, and we're going to be discussing what is your relational capital. So, woohoo, what is relational capital? And why does it matter? All right, boom. That's for next week, and I will see you there and at the same time on Get More Clients.